Great, and we're recording. So hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is Trends and Claims in the Beauty Industry. So this webinar is being recorded, and we'll be sending the webinar to everyone after the event in a little follow-up email. There's also going to be a question and answer towards the end. So if you've got any questions as we go through, please feel free to make a note of them, and you can put them in the question and answers box that you can sort of see as an option on the Zoom options, and we'll be able to answer those at the end. So today's webinar is slightly different to what we've done before. So we're going to go through some different trends that we found really interesting that are going on in the beauty industry at the moment. And we're going to look at some claims that are out there and some claims that we've produced, some sort of case studies and things like that. And basically sort of talk about how those claims are made. So the agenda basically is to look through those trends and manifestations. We're going to look at the legal situation behind the claims, as well as kind of, how well they resonate with the consumer. We're going to look a little bit at clinical and consumer validation. So you'll see some claims that come from sort of both of those kinds of methods of validating. And we've slipped a case study in there for one of the trends we're looking at as well, just to give a bit more detail about how you can do some study design there. So Thomas, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Carys. For those who don't know me, I'm a market research professional and market researcher by heart. I've been in market research, I think, for now 25 years, which makes me feel old if I look at Carys and some others. I've worked with Unilever for most of my time, where I had some interesting roles, both locally and internationally. In the end, with a global role, so I had the opportunity to travel the world and see what's happening in other countries around the world. After that, I left the company and started my own business in terms of consulting some companies in terms of market research and helping them understand the consumer better and getting closer to the consumer, because this is actually what I think market research is about, better understanding your target group. And then there came the opportunity to join Ayton Global Research, as they were looking for someone who leads their German business, which I was very happy to pick on because it nicely complements my other consultancy. So ever since, I'm working together with Sue and Carys and the team, and I'm happy also now to join this series of webinars.
Great, thank you, Thomas. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Regulatory Director at Ayton Global Research. So I started out about 8 years ago at the company as a study manager, basically getting to know clients inside and out, what their research objectives are, how they want to run their studies, and that kind of thing. And basically have moved that into a regulatory role where I think people are very interested in how they can use their research legally, how their studies need to be designed to use it on the platforms they want to use it on, and just generally other kind of regulations that affect studies as well. So making sure that we can give the best advice basically for everyone out there to use their research as they need to. So I find global trends really interesting as well, because that always has an effect on legislation. More trends that come up, and we'll touch on some of them today. Obviously, legislation has to change, and it's always the case for claims, especially in the beauty industry. So hopefully I'll be able to help to answer some questions about that all today. So just to kind of give an overall background about what we're going to be talking about today, it always comes back down to common criteria for cosmetic claims. So the EU regulation highlights these 6 common criteria. It doesn't matter if you're not looking at the EU, I think these are really resonant globally, these kind of 6 ideas, because it doesn't really matter which country you're in. To make sure your claims are legally compliant, you should always have these in the back of your mind. So when we're going through the trends today, I think it's really important that we all think about these kinds of common criteria, and if the claims we're seeing fit into these criteria, and how we can make sure that our claims do while following a trend as well. So to break them down quite clearly, legal compliance, this is about making sure that you don't state that your product's legally compliant as a claim. They have to be legally compliant, otherwise you can't sell them. So we sometimes see these claims that get snuck in, which is sort of saying, complies with the EU cosmetic regulation. Well, every single product has to. So it's quite an interesting one that might come up today. Truthfulness is really important. You can't state that your product has an ingredient in it that it doesn't have in, or at least it doesn't have in as an active level. It's something that gets talked about a little bit by our clients in terms of, what kind of level of ingredient do we have to have in our product to say that claim about it. Well, it varies again from country to country, but obviously if you haven't got that level in there, you can't say it. You always need to have evidential support. No matter what claim you have, there has to be some kind of evidence behind it. So again, that's going to be a very interesting one today, because it's also knowing at what level can you say things without evidential support before it becomes that kind of claim. Also honesty. So we can't say that we've got a claim that says 98% of 100 people agree with a product if they don't have 100 people on the study. You can't kind of sort of say I've tested it on 50. I think 100 people would say the same thing. It has to be very honest in terms of the actual evidence that you have. So that relates again back to evidence quite a bit. It has to be fair, so you can't say that you can't compare a product, say an anti-dandruff shampoo, against a shampoo that doesn't have any anti-dandruff properties and say that it removes more flakes. That wouldn't be fair, and it wouldn't be fair for your consumer to make a decision on buying your product, which leads us nicely on to informed decision making. Every claim that you have must not mislead your consumer into purchasing your product. They should have all of the facts about it very, very clearly so they can make an informed decision about choosing your product. So that kind of always goes into every claim that we're thinking of. So that'll come up a lot today. So Thomas, if you can talk us through the trends that we're going to go through.
Yeah, so we had a look around and see actually what is trending. And of course, you see lots of different trends and trend frameworks and trend ideas. This is not meant to be a kind of comprehensive list of all trends that you see around the world. There's too much happening. But these were just actually some trends that we saw coming up and felt were interesting and worth talking about. By the way, also coming back to what we said in the beginning, trends and manifestations. Trends is something underlying a bigger motivation, and manifestations are what you actually see in the markets. Is also sometimes, I think, a bit mixed up when people talk about a new trend, which is a product, which is normally not a trend, but just shows what and it's worth looking about what's really going on behind the scene. So some of these trends that we talk about is for women. Wellness, naturalness, better for the world, anti-polluaging, Masstige, we talk about CBD, the skin microbiome, and connecting with consumers. Most of them are not really new, but they are ongoing and strong developments that we think also will go on for longer and go on forever. So that's why we want to talk to you about it, especially also as we saw some very interesting claims coming up in that direction. So if we move to the first one, it is for women, the 3 question marks. We clearly see, and nobody will be surprised, that the times when cosmetics are seen to be a category for women are over. So this is see more and more actually cosmetics targeted at men. And men are seen as an interesting target group. So of course, additional opportunities to sell. We shouldn't forget half of the population. So they are being targeted with specific propositions. And what we see coming up, I think, more interestingly or newer is really the kind of unisex products, so that you're really targeting men and women at the same time. So just 2 examples. I found interesting in the UK, men's grooming war paint, which is really going very, very strongly in a very male direction. You see also the very dark color codes. It's all black and all power and all energy. Funny enough, then it's then claiming cruelty-free and vegan, which is not the first thing that I would have thought of when I talk about a male cosmetic argument, and produced in the UK. The claims are very soft in that direction. Carys, do you think this is something that should be validated one way or the other in terms of cruelty-free?
So absolutely. So cruelty-free and vegan are accreditation. So they need to be evidence-based. So there's different regulations, again, slightly different worldwide. But if you want to get those accreditations for your product, you do have to go through a process for that.
Okay.
So it's definitely evidence-based on that one.
Okay, I assume they've done that.
I hope so.
Okay, let's go to the next example, which is actually what I mentioned before. This was an interesting brand, Laka from Korea, who talk about really being neutral. And if you look at their website and their communication, you always have a pair of a man and a woman with the same kind of cosmetics. So they are actively promoting the use of the same products for men and women. And we go to the next page. So you see another example of a lipstick and products that a man and a woman are using, and they're featuring here is one lipstick, watery sheer lipstick, gently absorbs into your lips, moisturizing but does not get oily. Semi-translucent pigments allow you to easily apply colors. No scent for everyone's taste. So again, some claims which I think I haven't seen any validation behind them. They are soft and more marketing claims, but I wonder actually if someone actually wanted to attack them, if this was up for debate, if they can use it.
Absolutely, and I think the things that we point out this one was things like no scent for everyone's taste. Well, to say it's everyone's taste, it makes sense to say, you know, it's not scented either way, but to say it's everyone's taste, we'll probably need some kind of consumer research validation to say, you know, would you say this is your taste or something like that?
Which I think you couldn't even validate because everyone's taste.
Exactly.
I don't think it's sustainable. I'm sure you'll find counter arguments. Okay.
Definitely. But there's definitely no quotation here. And as Thomas says, we can't see if they're validated because they haven't put anything on there to say in a consumer test with such and such amount of people. So they're quite soft claims, but again, the argument's there to say maybe there should be some kind of validation there if there's not already. But in terms of considerations for our unisex, or is it for women category, our trend, the kind of interesting considerations that we'd like to say from our side, we kind of think you should conduct market research to analyze the brand acceptability from all genders. So if you're thinking of going down that route of being unisex or having it marketed towards a gender, I would recommend to do some kind of acceptability testing with those genders. It's also important to think if you've already got a brand out there, I wouldn't sort of say go to the trend and jump on there and change all of your branding to make sure it's for both genders anyway. But you might think that there's some products in your range that might be marketed towards women that actually in fact could be towards both genders, and that's where you could do a market research and analyze that and see if, you know, the population does agree with that. You can also look at recruiting a nationally representative mix of genders. So this is quite common in what we see at the moment when our clients are looking to have, you know, inclusive brands and making sure that they can be used by different genders, is for every study we'll just have a nationally representative mix of genders anyway, regardless of the product. So even if it's, you know, mascara, which is generally seen as something that's used by women, we'll actually invite men to join it as well and keep it open. Just, do you want to use a mascara? So it's something to think about if that's the kind of position you want to take your brand. You can also look at broadening the position of your products in terms of not just looking at it as male and female as well. So there's something that's being talked about a lot, not just necessarily with cosmetics, but in fact in lots of different FMCG categories, about the cisgender kind of categorization, and maybe not thinking of it as just male and female as well. So it's kind of taking out gender as a whole. So again, it might not be something that you've thought about before, but might be something that you want to start bringing in now. You can also gain testimonials and pictures. So as we've seen with the Korean brand, which has the pictures of men and women, you might want to put in your marketing before and after photos of both men and women to show that, you know, the effects that can happen on both genders instead of kind of relying on one gender there. And again, testimonials. So you can have testimonials from both males and females within your marketing to really show that it is accepted by all kind of range of genders. So the next trend we're going to talk about is wellness. So wellness is obviously bringing together the mind and body. It's about this kind of holistic approach to beauty. So we're really thinking about connecting health to beauty. So kind of that idea of what you kind of take into your body. We see a lot of things like supplements and diet and how that links to beauty, and kind of having that holistic approach to it all. Tends to be targeted more towards self-care. We've definitely seen an increase during the kind of COVID-19 situation that the world's in, where a lot of cosmetic products are really pushing forward that self-care with their products and with their advertising, because it's something that wellness is all about. You're making sure you're looking after yourself, and in doing that, maybe taking a bit of time to pamper and use those beauty at home treatments. You need to be really careful not to make medicinal claims. When we're looking at that kind of approach to health, often people can start making medicinal claims about their cosmetics when actually we need to really focus on the cosmetic claims. So you can approach it in a way that is thinking about the mind and body and the health, but you can't say anything about curing or preventing disease or anything like that if you're going to have a cosmetic product. it generally links with lifestyle as well. You see a lot of people that are going to be talking about the whole diet, so things like vegan. Vegan products are more to do with wellness products generally. We see a lot of people that want to have active claims about their products, so kind of being, you know, really well and looking after yourself and being healthy and active, but also how that relates to your cosmetics. So it's kind of having that overall full-on approach to lifestyle and body and health and wellness, as well as being cosmetics. So here's some brands that have got some claims on their websites, which I think really relate to health and wellness. So Beauty Pie have got things about healthier looking skin and more radiant looking skin, things that we really connect to being healthy. Elemis have got their superfood range, and one of their products has got things about being calm and soothed on their skin, cooling, hydrated, refreshed. Again, it's all those kinds of buzzwords that we really associate with wellness. And then also This Works have got their pillow spray. So it's things to do about having a better night's sleep. Obviously, if you have a better night's sleep, you're going to be healthier. So really connecting all of that. Again, on social media, so we've got Elemis again on Facebook. So they've used their consumer claims and said 91% of people agree that this left their skin feeling cleansed, purified and refreshed. Again, those buzzwords, purified, that really resonates with wellness. And Temple Spa, I've got 71% of people agree that the face cream improves their quality of sleep. And it's an aromatherapy face cream, so it's called Aroma of the face cream. Again, it's really connecting with all of that wellness kind of industry.
Yeah, now this for the German-speaking audience, an interesting brand that I came across and just wanted to share it with you, even if it's actually all written in German, and they seem to be a newcomer that haven't even translated their website into English. These are aromatherapeutic shower bombs, so products actually that you put into your shower, because they say wellness has a lot to do with what you smell, so with your senses, going with all your senses. So you put these things in your shower and they develop a wonderful smell, obviously, without actually bringing the smell on your body. So it's not like oiling in your body or anything. You just smell it while you take your shower. So quite a nice thing. And then, of course, also coming in with a nice formula. It's vegan. It doesn't have microplastics. It's made in the EU. There's natural oil. So lots of good things actually that help you develop your feel well and working on your wellness. So the claim is relaxation at home. And if you go to the next page, their vision, that really only talking about marketing, their vision is to bring wellness into each and every shower and make wellness under the shower accessible to everybody. And then nicely described this to be on cloud 7. How can you best describe the feeling? Steam is rising, it's smelling of fresh lime from the shower bomb, and you're feeling like you're being on a lonely island in the South Sea. So I think it's a very clever way of creating a wonderful atmosphere without really promising anything tangible that needed to be claimed, that needed to be validated. So I like this as an example of how you can really make an innovation, an innovative product, and promote it without going into a strong claiming direction. Naturalness. Yeah, okay, so this is actually something that we see very, very strong also in our tests. I even had clients who said actually we're not testing that much because we are only claiming free from, which we don't need consumer tests for, which is interesting. So supporting the natural development of things, and you've got a lot of certified claims that need to be certified, for instance, the organic one, and I think Carys wants to tell you a bit more about that one.
Definitely. So free from claims, I'm sure anyone that works in a regulatory background will know that this has all become something really interesting within the cosmetic industry, because we saw such a boom of it a few years ago, and it's kind of been picked up on being something that isn't necessarily very fair on the industry and doesn't necessarily fit into the 6 common criteria for cosmetic claims. So the free from claims have been brought up for maybe kind of spreading misinformation. So basically, by saying things like a product is paraben free, it's giving the impression that parabens are bad and that other products that have parabens are worse. So it's that whole idea of legal compliance. It's obviously safe. Every product's got to be safe, otherwise it wouldn't be allowed on the market. but also about kind of that informed decision making from a consumer as well, because it might make a consumer purchase it because it thinks, oh God, paraben free, well, I'm using a paraben product, I don't want to have that anymore, it sounds really bad. And it causes an unfair reputation and a mistrust in the industry as well. It's made there was lots of articles about, you know, what products to avoid because they got silicons and parabens and things like that in them, when actually they're really good products and there's nothing wrong with them at all. There may be reasons you want to use a paraben free or silicon free conditioner, for example. I know some of my friends don't like a silicone conditioner because it builds up on their hair, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. I like a silicone conditioner because it makes my hair really, really silky. So it's kind of making sure that we're not spreading misinformation. So it's kind of getting that whole free from kind of speech. You can say it hasn't got silicone in it, but make sure it's not got a negative kind of perception there and doesn't have any idea on the safety of the ingredients as well. So the Cosmetics, Toiletries and Perfumery Association actually has a really helpful document about that I wanted to kind of point people's direction into. If you're currently making free from claims or if you're thinking about it, do have a look at that document because it really helps you understand if you're going to use things like free from claims, how you should actually use them. And I know me and Thomas had the discussion. I said, well, you know, in food industry, it's a bit different because you might say gluten free and people that can't have gluten. It's really important that they know that. But then we said, actually, gluten's got a really bad reputation. And a lot of people will not eat gluten now because it's kind of got that reputation as well. So maybe it does spread to other industries, but it is just very interesting to see how the overall population can really react to things when we say, you know, if things aren't included in products. So try and avoid that. And also with organic certifications. So that's quite interesting as well. And I think that this is probably going to be something from a regulatory standpoint that probably gets cracked down on in the next few years. So there's currently an ISO that you can get for organic and natural accreditation, but you don't have to have it. So you'll see there are some companies out there, for example, Nails Yard Remedies, that like to have an organic certification on all of their products. But actually, again, when I'm talking about fairness of the industry, there could be products that say they're organic and don't necessarily have any certification, and they're getting put up there on that kind of same level. So it's quite an interesting one. The most important thing is to also think about the regulation as well for cosmetics, and just that every claim present on a product label should be supported by adequate and verifiable evidence. So even if you don't have the accreditation, the ISO, you still need to have some kind of evidence to say that your product is organic if you're going to say it. You can't just sort of say it out there. So there's kind of 3 different breakdowns as well. So organic, if you're going to say that, you need to have 90% more of your product's ingredients that are organic. Made with organic, which is only a portion of the product's ingredients are organic. And natural, which means the product contains natural ingredients, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's organic. So you might have some organic natural ingredients in there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that as well. So another, just to be kind of aware of that, like I said, because even if it's not accredited, if you're going to say organic, you need to have verifiable evidence that you've got 90% or more of the ingredients that are organic on there. So just some kind of advertising claims again within this industry. We've got Neom Organics in London. So they've got on their Facebook page about their sleep face oil. Yes, naturals work. 82% felt that the skincare left their skin looking radiant, and 91% said it was nourished and hydrated. So really interesting there, because it's obviously pushing that whole natural element of their product and saying that it does work, and they've got the evidence to prove it with a consumer study. And Nails Yard Remedy as well have got about their certified organic on there. They've also got clinically proven claims to moisturize the skin, as well as some other kind of claims to say it replenishes and has a natural glow. So again, just using those consumer kind of claims and on those clinical claims within your marketing, within that kind of natural industry.
Yeah, so another interesting product that I came across when I looked around, which is by Orphica, which I think is a French brand, Real Lash, an eyelash enhancer, where I think this on the one hand side driving this naturalness to another level, where I said it's really about natural enhancing. So it's not making artificial eyelashes, but let your eyelashes grow. They have this interesting claim. earns the approval of customers from 35 countries. On the one hand side, sounds impressive. Enjoy beautiful look with 83% longer and 79% fuller lashes. I don't know what you make of 83% longer lashes. My perception was actually that they would really grow in size and be almost twice as long. And 79% fuller lashes, don't know, probably maybe less light coming through, I don't know. But if you look at the details of the claim, which they also publish, they actively advertise the effectiveness confirmed in tests. But they talk about test results in a group of women aged 24 to 45 that don't tell us how many there were. And then they say 86% of testers noticed fortified lashes, 79% fuller lashes after 4 weeks. So then 79% and 83% longer lashes after 4 weeks. So the 83% longer lashes seems that 83% of consumers agreed that they were longer, which I would read as different from the first page in their main claim. So I think this is a bit of a claim mess in here, which I don't think is really a good advertising for them. And I don't know actually, Carys, what does a legal expert say to this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it's not very clear at all, and we've got no information here about the amount of people that were on the study as well, the number of the people on the panel. And what was interesting here, we're going back to that legal compliance and the common criteria. This says there were no side effects in the test group, but we don't know how big that test group was. It says it doesn't cause irritations or allergies or changes in iris colors. These might be common side effects when using other kind of products, and Relash meets all safety requirements set by dermatologists. Well, every product on the market has to meet those safety requirements. So by saying this, it's really falling under that legal compliance unfairness with claims, because it's almost saying that every other lash growth serum is really unsafe, but actually if it's sold legally, it has to be safe. So it's very interesting. And again, like I said, there was no side effects in the test group. Well, if you tested it on 20 people, maybe it would be very different if you tested it on 100 people. We certainly see it when we do our consumer studies. There's often a very odd side effect here and there, but nothing serious. If it's a serious undesirable event, it would have to be, kind of changed and things like that. But actually, the bigger the test group is, the more likely you're going to have someone that has some kind of reaction to your product. It doesn't mean that it's not safe. So yes, it's a little bit interesting how they're wording that one.
Yeah. And they're not coming back to the 35 countries they mentioned on the front page.
Yes, definitely. They didn't say where those women were from.
Interesting.
Yes, definitely.
Good. Yeah, and then better for the world. Consumers increasingly look not only for products that are more natural, but also for companies that have a purpose and follow sustainability principles consistently. So I think very often you see this is not about a product, and people are a bit tired of all kind of marketing claims and marketing gimmicks, and all these kind of naturalness and things are often also seen as a bit gimmicky, as unless the company behind it is really also having a purpose and being consistent in what they do, and really working towards a sustainability message. So we've got the sustainably sourced claim, and of course the whole green area is also in there. Just one example of a nice company that I came across is soap in the UK. So they have got this exfoliating soap pebble as one of their products. Inspired by pebbles found in Lake District's River Greta, so also nice marketing story. Our soap pebbles are cocooned in wool from local Herdwick sheep, so again local produce and local natural produce for natural and gentle exfoliation. Eco-friendly, biodegradable, and enriched with cocoa butter, olive oil, and coconut oil. So a nice product description, probably also a nice product in terms of naturalness and not being artificial. And it goes beyond that. If you look a bit deeper into the company ethics, which they publish on their website, where they talk about they reduce impact on the environment. All our products are crafted in the UK with ingredients and materials that are locally sourced wherever possible. It doesn't stop there. Our bottles are made from old milk bottles. We have a plastic-free collection made from aluminium, which can be recycled infinitely. We're environmentally conscious, even down to the finer details, with compostable stickers, biodegradable glue, and et cetera, and even actually down to our people. So this company really promotes being a very ethical company, which I think definitely creates consumer trust and probably a loyal group of consumers. I think this is a strong example of a company that seems to do it well, even though I don't know how they perform in the market. In terms of the products, I think they make so strong claims already as a company message that the product claims as such are not really super validated. They have some claims where you might challenge them in terms of, is this really, would this require some more validation, where they talk about they nourish your skin whilst putting your mind at ease. It's vegan, 100% natural, bee friendly, contains vitamin, cruelty-free, hand-poured, energy boosting, natural scent, uplifting, renewing. So lots of nice phrases, but not really a substantial claim that I think requires any validation. So I don't think they would work with us or anyone. Carys, I don't know what your legal expertise says about this.
Yeah, we've got luxuriously smooth, supple, and ultra hydrated skin, but that seems to come from the claim from the ingredients. So it may be the ingredients claims are validated. But it could still be argued. I mean, the risk with that always is if you have an ingredient claim like that, and your consumer uses your product, and they don't feel that, they don't feel the luxuriously smooth and supple and soft skin, they could still complain to the advertising authorities, and they could say if we've got no evidence on the final product, then it still might not be a friendly claim. So we're not saying they don't have the evidence, but obviously it's been made more about the ingredients. A really important thing to remember when you're doing ingredients claims as well is if you're going to use the ingredients claims in your product, they have to have been tested in the same form. So if you have got a, like this is like a shower gel, but say the ingredient was tested in an oil, you can't actually say the ingredient claim about the gel because it's a different formulation. So that's something that I think gets forgotten about a lot, and it's really important to make sure that when you're purchasing products from these ingredient suppliers that are obviously going to try and sell you these ingredients, they're going to want to have all those claims on there. Really think about how you're going to use those ingredients, because they might not tell you that. And again, maybe if they do have the ingredients claims on the different formulation, maybe just do a consumer study to say, well, when it's in this new formulation, does it still have the same effect? Can we still say that? So there's always ways of doing it, but as with anything, the more evidence you have, the more confidence you're going to have there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So the next trend is anti-pollution. I'm sure everyone's seen this a bit over the last few years. So obviously we're in a world now where urban areas contain really high levels of pollution, and people have really seen an effect of this on their skin. So it's things such as allergies, imperfections, pigmentation, dullness, premature skin aging, wrinkles, and irritated skin. A lot of these skincare problems have been really attributed to living in a polluted environment. So not everywhere in the world, but certainly in places that are highly populated in cities and things like that. It has become something that people are really looking for in their skincare to make sure that they're protected against those environmental factors.
Mm-hmm. And when we looked around, actually, I saw a company that even takes it one step further and talk about anti-polluaging, which I think is a nice word, where they talk about a new concept called anti-polluaging, which with the combination of pollution and aging. It's a nice wording, and I think creates a strong message. If we go to the example, which is coming from South Korea, Blithe. These are just 3 of their products, which they nicely present. Also with some ingredients that seem to do something with your skin. Gold apricot is used for medicine and cooking. Apricot seed prevents freckles and dark spots, as well as recovers damaged skin caused by UV rays. So this is again, as Carys mentioned, obviously a claim that goes back to an ingredient, which is probably proven elsewhere. Similar to ice plant, contains rich zinc and minerals, which calms the skin by relieving stress and provides moisture. And the last one is, again, lots of ingredients that obviously do something positive. So I think it's a nice twist of claiming ingredients that are proven elsewhere to have a positive impact. question is, and how far can this be transferred to the product?
Definitely. And so this is where I'm going to sneak in my case study.
Yeah.
So we're looking at anti-pollution claims and how do we substantiate those with consumer research. So we tested a pollution defence wash for a European contract manufacturer. And we were looking at supporting the claim in the relevant markets. So I'll talk about that in a bit, but this was tested in India. We had to substantiate claims that were all about anti-pollution and the product's ability to remove pollutants from the skin because it's a face wash. So we wanted to test this in India because in terms of cities over there, as you may know, like places like Mumbai and New Delhi are very, very highly populated and have a huge level of pollution there. So when we talk about having a global brand or having a global population, sometimes you need to test it in a sort of range of countries to reflect those different areas. But in this case, they knew they wanted to launch into Asia. So they really wanted to make sure they had somewhere which was very highly affected by pollution, because if we test it on the people that are most affected in a polluted area, it will also kind of translate down to places that maybe have a lower level of pollution. So it's really important for this kind of study that we were really making sure the location was perfect. So it's a single placement study, meaning that we just tested one product on its own. It was just the face wash. 14 days, that was enough for us to test the effect of the cleanser. We're looking if it washes out the skin and leaves it feeling fresh, whereas maybe for an anti-aging cream, you might want to have a much longer study duration. We had 80% female and 20% male. So this goes a little bit back to our is it for women trend. But obviously that's not naturally representative of the kind of gender breakdown in India. However, it was very representative to the company, the brand that this was being tested on behalf of, because they noticed that 80% of their customer base was female and about 20% was male. So they wanted to make sure they reflected that in their study. So obviously the majority of their market being female, they wanted to have the majority opinion from that, but they could also have some opinions from males as well, because they knew that that would still be really important for their marketing. We're looking at people 18 to 40 years old because that was the target age for this. All skin types. We weren't too worried about the skin type that we were testing. We wanted to make sure we were looking at those pollutants, but obviously we need to have a representative skin types to say that kind of claim. And again, obviously they had to be in an urban area, built up city, targeted directly at Mumbai and New Delhi to make sure that we were looking at those highly concentrated areas. So just a small breakdown of the results so you can see what kind of questions were asked and how they were substantiated. So this was lifted from a part of our report. So we basically have a summary at the end that breaks down every single question and says who agreed and who disagreed with it. This is really important for your claim substantiation marketing. A, you can see what claims have passed and what claims you can use in your marketing. And B, you can lift it out and literally quote it in your kind of whatever marketing you're using. So we've got obviously the questions on the left-hand side. We've got the number of people that said they were satisfied or had a neutral answer or were not satisfied, and then the percentage of people that were satisfied or had a neutral answer and were not satisfied. So what we're really looking for is people that were satisfied, and actually in specifically the percentage of people that are satisfied, so we can make sure that A, they pass, so anything with an asterisk on it is what passed, as you can see all of the claims. But also we can quote those. So when we say 90% of people agreed their skin felt soothed after use, we can take that straight from this report. But the kind of questions we were really looking at, what can we measure with the consumer? So obviously we're talking about pollution on the skin. A consumer can't say, oh yes, all the pollution was removed from my skin. You wouldn't know that. But we're saying, what do you think you agree with? So things like skin feeling soothed, it reduces impurities. You can measure that. You can have your face unwashed and then wash it and see that impurities have been removed. The same with daily pollution. You can see grime on your skin and you can wash it and you can see that all of that grime's been lifted from your skin. So anything that they can perceive there. And really important at the end of it was to say, how do you rate the improvement in the condition of your skin? And 80% of people agreed that the improvement of their condition of skin was improved from using this product, which is great for this kind of claim, because you're saying that by removing this pollution, exactly what we're saying about those ongoing effects, the improvement was noticed as well. So it's just a nice way of seeing how you can break down that kind of trend and actually have the research and evidence behind it.
Coming to the next trend, Masstige, which is also a trend you probably all seen and all known. So bringing premium and prestige products to the masses. So often you've got some trendsetters and some companies who bring really new products and sell them at a premium price, which they can definitely do. But after a while, this becomes mainstream, it becomes Masstige. So other companies are following and can offer a similar proposition for a much cheaper price. I found, coming back to the example of the lash serum and the growing your eyelashes example that we had before, I came across L'Oreal, who has brought out the product clinically proven, which has a similar proposition and a similar promise. Only that this costs about 14 euro per pack, while the Orphica example we had before costs about 59 euro per pack. So clearly going for the masses for a much cheaper price. I won't judge the quality of the product, I can't do that. But what I've also found interesting is that they even call their brand clinically proven. So they are really working on a claim, on an actively proven claim. So they call it clinically proven. They have right on their pack have 94% agreed lashes look fortified, 97% saw less lash loss, and 81% agreed fringe looks fuller. So this sounds lovely. Funny enough that even in this product that is so much based on strong claims and is even called claims proven, I'm not sure actually if this is clinically proven because these are consumer claims. And secondly, if I look at the details, the small print, it says self-assessment from cosmetic clinics, 32 women, 4 weeks of application twice a day. So A is a self-assessment, so I'm not sure this is a clinical test, and 32 women doesn't sound a really sound base for such a strong promotion of claims. I don't know, Carys, what you say about this one?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely agree. I think the claims are definitely worded better when we sort of had that confusion with Orphica. We said, you know, it said lashes are fuller, but actually it looked like an agreement claim. At least this clearly says agreed.
At least it's clear, yeah. True.
But exactly my thoughts is that self-assessment doesn't necessarily mean clinical. When we have claims that may be worded more clinically and our clients want to use them, we tell them to put self-assessment in their marketing. So it's very clear it's not clinical. So that's the thing that really red flags to me to say, I don't think that is a clinical claim. And again, 32 women is too low for any kind of study, in my opinion. But again, that's opinion based. Maybe if advertising authorities they might be fine, but it's an interesting claim wording there.
Yeah. Okay, and well, just talking about the Masstige as a side note, I found it interesting that there's even a brand that could claim the brand name Masstige. It's coming from Belarus, and I don't think it's on the European market. But obviously, Masstige has become so big and hasn't been protected as a brand name in many cases that a brand can actually work with it. So we've got a big range of Masstige products that's under the brand Masstige. In Belarus and some other Russian countries in the east over there. Yeah, there are lots of talks about the skin microbiome, which is improving the skin microbiome, and I felt it was maybe good to clarify also the differences, how you work on the microbiome. And I found these good definitions that I think is worth sharing with you. You talk a lot about probiotics, which are products that have good bacteria to increase the number of favorable bacteria on the skin. So they're actively working with the bacteria. You've got prebiotics that act as food sources for these bacteria and help them grow. And you've got postbiotics, which add byproducts of probiotics to improve the composition of the skin's bacteria. So for instance, you optimize the pH. Usually they are working along with probiotic treatment. So you have this, just to sort out a bit of confusion that's going on, because all these sound good, but I'm not sure how many consumers really understand the differences between these details. That's why I felt this was worth sharing with you. I took one example from the US, which I like just from the name of it. Because the brand name Mother Dirt, I think, automatically implies that it's very natural and very naturally working on your skin and everything, get your skin into balance with these products. So a nice brand, and if you go on with nice products, but also with some very interesting claims. When I looked at this, improvement in skin clarity for problem skin. Let's say in a randomized placebo-controlled double-blind study conducted in 28 participants in multiple location climates, participants saw improvement in skin clarity. So 20 need to consider this 28 participants in multiple locations and climates. So how much does this really say? And if it's a placebo-controlled test, normally if, half of the participants get placebos and only half of them really test the products. So I'm not sure actually this is really something to really says something, but they are very positive and very strong about their claims. So I'm not sure how strong they are on the European markets, but I think some people would have to say something about this in Europe. Carys, what do you think?
Definitely is, and the multiple locations. They haven't said what the locations and climates are, but to spread that many people
around the world, they probably have their own employees or people who want holidays and having it tested there.
Absolutely, it's just too small to say. What's really interesting as well, actually, is they've got 53% said it improved problem areas. Now, I often get asked, what is a majority claim? And I usually say that we use 66% as a majority claim to be able to say, that claim's passed. But actually, majority could technically be 53%. Some platforms require a certain amount. This on their own website. But it's very interesting. They obviously haven't just said it improved problem areas, because they know they probably can't say that with that little amount of percentage, but they can say that 53% said it improved problem areas. It's a very clever way of using a claim that I don't think is passed necessarily in their marketing. But certainly, again, if only 53% of possibly 14 people agreed, I don't think I'd have the confidence to put that on my so yes, it's definitely it's a shame there's some good claims there, but I just don't think the data is going to be substantial. So just kind of other sort of, again, considerations for skin microbiome. Skin microbiome studies will always require a level of clinical assessment. And by saying that, I mean, a consumer can't say about the effect microbiome's had. They can't develop a product and say that whether it's probiotic or postbiotic, there has to be a clinical assessment there. But consumer studies can be used to assess the perception. So as in the last product we've seen, the product has been developed with microbiome, and a consumer study could easily say that people see the improvement in clarity and skin and everything like that. That can be assessed. But you can also link the two together. So an example that I'm looking at the moment is looking at a product that's to do with vaginal flora. So we want to have a consumer study which looks at people's perception of the product, but also get them to take swabs that'll be assessed clinically for their level of microbiome to see what the changes in that flora. So it's just a really interesting example of how you can link the two methodologies together. It hasn't got to be one or the other. And in fact, I think with skin microbiome as a whole, as it's becoming a bit of a trend, I would be very sort of advisory to say to have some kind of level of consumer testing there, because it's all very well and good saying there's a science behind it. That's very, very clear. But if consumers can't perceive any effect from changing their microbiome, what's kind of the point? Obviously there's the health side of it, but certainly if you're saying it's really important to have this good microbiome on your skin, but people don't see any difference whatsoever, the science can very much point in one direction. But as with any product, really, perception is really going to be important if you're going to market that product confidently. So another trend, we're looking at CBD. So this has obviously been something I've been talking about it a lot in trends, and actually a conference next week to talk about it a bit, because it's a huge trend in the industry, not just cosmetics, but actually in lots of industries, in healthcare and food and drink. So certainly something people are thinking about in cosmetics as well. But there is a lot of regulation behind it and a lot of changing regulations behind it as well. So something to be really on top of. You cannot make any claims about CBD at all, not a CBD on its own, because the claims around it, surrounding it, are so medically based. generally, you certainly shouldn't be doing them in your cosmetic product. But you can always make claims about a final product. That's what's really important to remember, because a lot of clients that I've been working with that are cosmetic brands that are making CBD products are panicking and saying, we can't say any claims about our product whatsoever. It's not true. You can make cosmetic claims about your cosmetic product. You just can't say what the CBD's kind of anti-inflammatory, that kind of thing about it. But you can say that the product is anti-inflammatory if it was a medical product. Again, trying to avoid medical, because this is a cosmetic that we're looking at. So any kind of cosmetic claim, depending on where you're based in the world, look at what the cosmetic claim definition is and make sure you're making cosmetic claims about it. So when CBD used in cosmetics, the level and quality does vary globally. And certainly in the EU, there must be no THC in a cosmetic. There is a very broad guideline. I think it's 0.03% THC, but that is to say what is a zero level, because obviously there may always be carried on a small amount of THC in CBD, but it certainly should be classified as no trace. So all claims on cosmetics must be in compliance with the regulations of the advertising authorities. So we know what our regulations are about how much is in the cosmetic, but the claims have to be in compliance with the advertising authority. And again, that really means avoiding any medicinal claims. If you do want to go down medicinal CBD route, there is also that option as well, and you should look to the MHRA for guidance. But I'm pretty sure most people will be avoiding that and trying to stick with cosmetics. So kind of claims that we're seeing out there at the moment. I've got some hemp and some CBD products out here because they do really fit within the same category. So the Body Shop, they've got a hemp, they've got a whole hemp range. So it sort of claims they've got their skin hydration, which is based on clinical trials to do with protecting the skin's natural moisture barrier, helping with ultra dry skin. Now, these are very much claims that are CBD based. So when I was saying you can't claim on the CBD itself, when people talk about CBD, they do say that it helps with things like protecting and helping with dry skin. So we've tested the cosmetic and now we can say those claims about it. Same with Milk Makeup. They're a really popular CBD brand, very kind of trendy. So they've done some consumer studies about their product as well. So things to do with how, how it performed before applying makeup, and then things like healthy looking glow. So again, we're going down that route of being healthier because it's CBD, but it's healthy looking glow. We can say that's cosmetic. And Kiehl's as well. I did a 4-week consumer study and had things in there about being gentle on the skin and that the skin felt calmed and relieved. So again, it's those exact claims that really ring true of CBD itself, but the cosmetic product has been tested and we've got a cosmetic claim for it. On social media as well. So we've got a product called, a brand called Ambience. So they're basically saying that it soothes, calms, smells refreshing. So again, these all have to be substantiated. And it's they can be substantiated for a consumer level, but it's not saying that the CBD is doing it, it's saying that the moisturizer does it. And again, Kiehl's the same product again. Basically saying that it helped reduce the feeling of stressed skin and balances hydration. So again, it's really ringing true with that whole idea of CBD being stress relieving. We're making sure we're bringing that into the cosmetic claim.
Okay, another example that we came across, it's an American brand, Beuh. Actually, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Body care that was made for you, heal while you bathe. So it's a bathing products. So also links back to the wellness that we discussed beforehand. And they have, for instance, some products like, if we go to the next one, bath bombs, which I found an interesting new idea. Handmade bath bombs that are cruelty free. So you just put them in your bath and obviously develop some nice CBD functionality. They say with years of rigorous testing, our unique infusion method has proven to be the most effective way for your skin to soak in the pure CBD. So obviously some kind of clinical testing has gone into that, I assume, but I don't know for sure. Vigorous quality control methods. So it's just an interesting product in a way that nicely combines the CBD trend that we talked with the wellness trend that we had in the beginning. So we felt it was worth sharing with you.
I think what's really interesting about that one as well is that it says these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. So for those that have attended my webinars about USA legislation, obviously differently in the USA, you don't have to pre-register a cosmetic product with the FDA. But they obviously can still, once it's on the market, they can evaluate you and tell you if it needs to be taken off. But the problem is that means that people can make claims and say that it hasn't been evaluated. So how, you know, as we were saying, it's, you know, vigorous testing and things like that. We don't know if that's true or not.
No.
And they're almost sort of backing out of it and saying maybe it's not true. So an interesting brand, but as Thomas said, it's still a really nice way as well. If it is all true, that kind of combining that CBD and wellness industry, I think they go really hand in hand.
Last but not least, something that I think is worth adding at the end is connecting with consumers. This is not about product properties, not about validation, and we see this everywhere. But communication you see more and more coming up is about establishing personal relationships via strong link with a brand or via influencer marketing. You see this, and in cosmetics, of course, you see this very, very strongly that many brands rely on influencer marketing to promote their brands and build them on. And many brands even respond to political and world events to communicate their brand views. So there's this very, very strong interaction happening. It's not, communication is not a one way of promoting your benefits and your values and your properties and your claims, but it's more and more getting into a communication and discussion with your consumers.
Great. So I actually recently ran some market research talking about things like connecting with consumers, and certainly something that keeps coming up time and time again, which is the idea of brand authenticity. So for that kind of relation, I think if you're connecting with your consumers, it's really putting across the authenticity of your brand and saying your brand is authentic. 88% of 209 people we asked feel that it's important that the brands they buy are authentic. But what does that mean? That was a really interesting thing that we thought we kind of throw around the term quite a lot, but we haven't actually thought about what that means to the consumer. So obviously this is just taken from the consumers that we asked. I'm not saying this is the worldwide opinion, but by kind of picking out trends in what they were asked about what brand authenticity meant to them, the main things that we really brought out is that the brand had to be honest. So to me, that really rings true about that evidence-based, those common criteria for cosmetic claims. If you're going to be honest or trusted, you need to have some kind of evidence there behind it. And even things like research came up, so making sure that people have research behind their brands there. As well as things that we talked about being ethical and having values, that's really important as well. So just some sort of interesting things there to think about if you're looking at connecting with your consumer. And as we were saying about influencer marketing, we asked the same people if they follow their favorite cosmetic brands on social media. Overall, we're looking at about 59%, which isn't as high. But then if you look at the female and 18 to 35-year-old bracket, we're actually got a higher percentage is in the 60s. So certainly there is a large percentage of people following their favorite cosmetic brands. Not as high with males, kind of unsurprisingly, but there's still a good percentage with 46. So we're saying about cosmetic brands being kind of open to men as well. That is a huge population of your kind of consumers there that might follow you. And the same with 36 but above, there is still a majority of people that are following there as well. So really important to think about how your brand is coming across on social media.
And I took one example from China that struck me, Perfect Diary, which seems to be one of the strongest growing brands in China. And if you go to the website, you very quickly see this come to a point where they offer you commission for every successful referral. So they're actively advertising towards social influencers to promote their brand, which I found a very interesting way of really making this very strong and very active. And shout about their brands via influencer marketing, because China is presumably a very difficult communication advertising market. And going beyond that, they have even created their own virtual influencer, the image of Xiao1Z. I don't know how exactly to pronounce this, but they have this virtual lady who starts talking with the target group. So they have I think lots of offsprings of this and people working behind the scenes who make this virtual influencer communicate and directly talk to young Chinese women, helping them find the right makeup or giving them tips or how to use them, etc. So this is a very, very active interaction of a virtual figure with a target group, which strongly bonds them with the brand and brings this brand forward. I felt this was an interesting example
Definitely
about
interesting.
how to communicate.
Definitely. I think it's really important as well to consider the legislation again, bring it always back to it. There's something that keeps getting brought up at the moment again, because using influencers is great, but don't feel like that means you don't have to have some kind of claim substantiation. If your influencers are out there giving their honest product reviews, that's really important. But you can't be relying on what they're saying to be the claims behind your product. At that point, it becomes your claims, and it has to be evidence-based as well. So it's always something really important, I think, at the moment.
Okay, to sum up, we felt worth sharing with what we talked to you about last time, claims and validation. We see that claims are everywhere, and you can't live without it. And wherever you go, you find claims. This is actually vital to promote your products. But you need to be careful about your claims, and you need to develop your claims and validate them, not as a kind of last-minute marketing effort. Claims are not a marketing gimmick. They come up at the very end of your development process and say, oh, by the way, we need to shout about it, so we need to find a quite nice claim. It should be built intrinsically into the product proposition. When you develop your product, you should think about what it should do and how you would claim it, and work on the right claims and validate them early enough. We've seen it more than once that claims have to be validated, and that some companies are a bit, are not too strong about it. Let's put it like this. There's room for improvement, and we are happy to help you on this. We know that they can happen. Consumers are in a lab, depending on the claim, but we discussed this last time. Many claim directions can be designed to be tested either way. So you can do them in the lab, or you can do this consumers, and consumer testing tends to be faster, cheaper, and more flexible. So think of claims, have them in mind, and think of how to best phrase them and how to best validate them.
Definitely. And just before we go to the question and answers as well, you've heard a lot about our opinions, but you haven't heard much about why you should be using us as a research agency. So just briefly, we're an award-winning research agency. We've won awards for International Business and Family Business of the Year. We are fully compliant with the GDPR. Of course, we have to be, because we are operating in the EU, but it's really important to note that we also get an ISO 27001, so we get an audit on our GDPR compliance. And also in doing that, it means we're really familiar with global data protection regulations and have our own data protection officer. Really important, not just for our huge panel of volunteers, making sure they're all anonymized, but also for our clients as well, making sure that your data is all protected. We have undesirable event reporting, which is all made with accordance with the Cosmetic Vigilance Act. I touched on that earlier a little bit when I was talking about kind of having adverse reactions reported on a consumer study. It's really important that our volunteers can do that, and it's also really important for you to have as evidence in terms of what the safety assessment is beyond a kind of laboratory test. We've got product liability insurance, and we're covered in each country we operate in. So this means you're protected as well. We've got an ISO 9001 for quality assurance. We're a partner to the Market Research Society, so you know that the research we're doing is proper and ethical. We can provide regulatory advice. That's where I come in. So you can always ask if you've got any regulatory questions, and you always get a designated study manager. So as mentioned, that's how I started my journey at Ayton Global Research. So they'll get to know everything about you and make sure that your research objectives are always met alongside your processes. So let's go to a question and answer. I hope we've got some questions from you all. Like I said, it's a bit of a different format today, so much more kind of brief on each kind of trend. But hopefully it's kind of sparked some interesting thoughts for you guys in terms of, you know, developing products around the trends and the kind of claims and things like that as well. As always as well, if you feel a bit put on the spot with a question and answer, you can always email us afterwards. So when I send out the follow-up information with the recording and things like that, I'll have both mine and Thomas's contact information in there. So don't feel like if you want to go away and have a think about a question, you can do that.
Yeah, it seems nobody has a question.
No, that's fine. Okay, well, we'll leave
As
it there.
yet.
I won't pressure you to ask questions, but like I said, please feel free to reach out. So just to finish up, just to put you in the direction of the SCS, as we are part of the committee there, there's a distance learning course, which is available anywhere in the world. So you can do that if you want to look at, oh, there's something coming in the chat. I knew this would happen. Oh, just really good. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I was expecting a question. I was like, quick, but it's fine. Thank you very much. But it's a recognised course in the essentials of cosmetic science, and you can have a look at their website there if you want to look at that diploma course. There's also going to be the IFSCC Congress in London on the 19th to the 22nd of September in 2022. So hopefully going ahead, unlike all the events that have been postponed this year. And you can register your interest at the website there. And just to finish up, our next webinars. That's really important as well. So for me and Thomas doing our joint webinars together, we've got 3 on the cards, and I'm sure many more to come. But the next 3 is the next one's on the 18th of September. We're looking at why local doesn't exist anymore and the importance of an international outlook. On the 2nd of October, we're looking at how to create a good advertising claim. And on the 16th of October, we'll be looking at comparison testing and claims that surround comparative advertising. So to finish up, we've got our contact information there. So as I said, I will email it out but always feel free to email us and to follow us on LinkedIn, because we always post about new webinars on there as well. Thank you so much for listening. I hope it's been really insightful.
Thank you all as well.
Thank you, Thomas.
Carys. And
have a really good day. Cheers.
Okay, bye-bye.